It is an honor to have with us today pianist, arranger, producer, and educator Antonio Adolpho. Antonio grew up in Rio de Janeiro in a very musical family and has gone on to have an illustrious career as a performing artist, recording producer, and educator. Now I'll turn the mic over to Dick Dunscomb to conduct the interview with Antonio.
Thank you, Bob. And hello, my friend Antonio. It's so good to see
Hello.
you.
Nice to see you too, Dick Dunscomb. So since a long time we haven't been together, but you look the same.
You're the best man that I know. Okay, so let's get underway here. We'd like to open our interviews by having you share with us how you came to study music and what led you to pursue music as your vocation.
Yes, you know what? My mother was a violinist of the Brazilian Symphony Orchestra in Rio de Janeiro, my hometown. And then my grandmother suggested me to study violin, myself and my brother, João. And then we took classes on violin. I was 7 years old at that time. But, you know, I loved the violin, but I would like to play. I think I missed some harmony instrument. Maybe it was that. And then when I was 11 or 12, I started to play by ear on my sister's piano at home. She studied classical music, but I liked at that moment to play like a popular music from Brazil. And I started playing by ear, just naturally. That came very naturally. And then I started to study piano only at the age 15. So before then, I just played 3 years of violin, as I told you, start at 7. And there was the whole atmosphere of music at my house. My mother, my sisters, my brother, everybody playing something. So I think it was very natural. That was a natural way. So that's how it started.
Well, that's a good start. And I know that you became very serious in your study. So, who were your most influential teachers, and how did they drive your performance career?
Yes, my mother, when she played at the symphony orchestra, she had a colleague, one of the musicians that played piano for the orchestra also, that was my first piano teacher. And I think he was very important to me, very important. He was a great piano player, and he really incentivized me for the piano to practice. And then I loved to play the scales and the chords and arpeggios, all that. And I think he was one of the most influential teachers I had. I cannot forget that I had two great teachers also. One in France, which was Nadia Boulanger. She was a teacher for many people like Aaron Copland, also of Michel Legrand, and other people like Astor Piazzolla. And I had the chance to study with her from 1973 to 74. And also there is another teacher which was a great influence that I had here in Rio de Janeiro. His name is César Guerra Peixe. He was a classical composer, but he also had this experience as a chef d'orchestre, maestro, as an arranger. He worked for TV shows in Brazil. Had a very wide experience, a vast experience, and so he was a great teacher as well. So I think these three teachers I can mention as the best influential I had.
Boy, that's some powerful teachers. I'm telling you, that's great. So, Antonio, let's just get personal for a minute. We met a few years ago at IAJ, and we've collaborated on several things since then. What role did IAJ play for you in that relationship?
It was like something very important to me when I got in contact with IAJE. I don't remember how was it. How did I take that opportunity to know about something about IAJE. I think because I was a teacher already at that time, maybe, and it was jazz education and jazz educators, whatever. I I got very enthusiastic about that, and then I went to the first conference that I went. I'm not sure if it was in Atlanta or so, and then I had the chance to meet a great friend of me, which is you, Dick Dunscomb. And then I was very impressed with your activity there, your work there as an international director. And then I could be nominated for Latin American coordinator for some time. And then I have to tell you that I learned a lot from IAJE and from the meeting with you and all this experience that we had. Also the clinics that I taught there and the performance that I did also. I had the chance to invite my daughter, Carol Saboya, who was a young girl at that moment. Maybe she was on this 16 or 17, and she joined me in some presentations, some performance, and some workshops as well. And I was very impressed because the IAJE could put together an entire group of jazz musicians, uh, maybe dozens, much more than that. And then I could learn lots of things from them and from the conference as a at all. No, the conference was very important. Now I recall at the first IAJE conference it was in Boston, 1994, I think, or 1996. Maybe you can tell me better. The one in Boston.
Mhm.
And at that conference, I was releasing my first book. My international book was published by Advanced Music, and then Mr. Hans Gruber. It was the day I met him in person. He gave me the book that I had created, and I was very happy with that situation as well. Anyway, I missed that IAJE moment. It was very, very important to me.
Well, it was sure great. That unfortunately that it didn't continue, but now we have a new organization in its place called Jazz Education Network, JEN.
Yes,
And
yes.
Antonio, the conference this year is in Orlando. So maybe
Oh,
you could,
yes, this year gonna be Orlando. Yes,
yeah, maybe you could consider going.
yes, yes. Good idea.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think I am associated to GEN, the Jazz Educator Network. Uh, I'll get into that. I wanna research on what can I do at this moment. I don't know if they are already filled for the workshops or so. Let me see. Are you still with Jim, the jazz educators?
Yes,
Oh, great.
they do the performance and clinic slots are already filled for this one. They do it about
Oh,
a year in advance. So this one is
booked.
that's the situation there.
I see. Oh,
Antonio, you created your own music school in Rio. I was honored to be able to go there and see your work and the wonderful students. Share with us what drove you to establish that school and how it grew and where it stands today.
yes, since I came from Europe when I studied with Nadia Boulanger, I was maybe influenced by her. She was a great teacher. She was a real. It was a real great experience, And then I started to be a teacher in 1975. And then I always loved to teach. Since I started to do that, I I think I grew a lot. And then at some point, people from other instruments, not the piano, which is my instrument, started to asking me, Antonio, do you know some drums teacher? Do you know some bass teacher or guitar? And then I started to to recommend teachers for the ones who were looking for them. And then I started to invite some of friends, my colleagues that I used to work with, drummers, and to come to my room. I had rented a room in Leblon, Rio de Janeiro, near it's close to Ipanema, close to the place that you visit. I had just one room there, and then we started in that small room. We started, and that the experience grew like that. No, it was. I think it was the moment I wasn't at the right place at the right moment and doing the right thing, because many people came to me and all these teachers, and they were starting to do a school. Myself and my wife, Ana Luisa, she coordinated the department that I didn't, which is more having to do with the coordination, the business stuff, the thing, and I continue with the musical and teaching influences in etc. And then it was like that. It came very naturally. We got to 1,000 students. Now we have three branches of that school, of my school. Centro Musical Antonio Adolpho. We have in Leblon, the one that you visit, Richard. We have one in Botafogo, is another neighborhood here in Rio de Janeiro, and the one in Barra da Tijuca, which is east and north of Leblon. So I think with that we started to grow. I'm sorry, to as a school in the deeper sense of what's the importance to have a school. You have interaction between the students, and that was very important. And then we had people. Since I was starting to teach Brazilian music, I became like a expert on Brazilian music teaching. I had people from Europe coming to study first, people from the US, and we have that interchange, exchanging programs with Argentina, and then this school grew. It was very natural how it came, and then now the school is being directed by my two daughters who are singers, both of them.
Mhm.
One that you know is Carol Saboya. She's more with the branch in Barra, which is the one I mentioned, the last one I mentioned. And Luisa, the younger one, that I'm sure you still remember Luisa.
Mhm.
Remember, she's in Leblon, in Botafogo. But we at this moment, myself and my wife, we just supervise, and I teach some classes there, not all the time, because I've been teaching abroad also. I've been teaching in the US, I've been teaching in Europe, and I do during the COVID. I did a lots of internet classes. It was what happened that moment. But the school now has 37 years.
Mhm.
The school, Centro Musical Antonio Adolpho, we are working for 37 years, which is a big experience, long-time experience, long-term experience, which is great.
You are doing such a service for the people around the world, Antonio, and your school is so famous, as are you. You've also had great success with many recordings. Give us some highlights of what you consider some of those you are most proud of.
Yes, it's like my babies, my kids. Let's see. But I'm proud of of them, all of the albums that I did, and I was very happy to be multi Grammy Latin Grammy nominee for 5 or 6 times in the recent years, and also to the Grammy, the American Grammy, when I had an album nominated for Latin jazz categories. Normally, I am in the Latin jazz categories and sometimes in the sound engineering category. My engineers here, and also had the instrumental category. And I am very proud of those albums and very happy with. I have been very well supported by jazz radio stations. And my recent albums, the one I did, Jobim Forever, and the other I did with the music of Milton Nascimento, both were for 4 weeks at #1 on Jazz Week. It's
Mm.
a, it's a very important chart, and yes, I'm very proud of all these. That's why I'm not having time to dedicate it too much to my school, but I have my daughters which are receiving the school to give their work also as well. Everything's working fine with that combination. I think I was very happy to having two two girls, two daughters that are very much into music, and they can continue the work I've been doing with my wife for all this time.
Well, they surely can. They're wonderful human beings. Now, you've been touring and performing, as you have mentioned, all over the globe. What can you tell us about some of the highlights from that aspect of your career?
Yes, I still travel a lot. Recently, I just was in South Florida. I went to St. Petersburg. As I mentioned before, we started the recording here. But I've been playing mostly in Brazil and the US, many of the different states, different towns in the US. I think it was a great experience I cannot forget when I was working with Elis Regina. Elis Regina is a legend from Brazil, a great singer. During the 60s and early 70s, I toured with her in Europe like 3 or 4 times. And we did have the chance to record an album with Toots Thielemans in Sweden and other albums in England with Elis Regina. And that was one of the the greatest experience I had touring in Europe. And I feel very much in shape to continue doing these tours. I love to perform with different musicians as well. Sometimes I do with local musicians, which is great because you get in touch with the local musicians, the local audiences, and that's enriches very much the work you do. Like I did in Seattle, for example, I had a week doing there a great work. Oh, I've been doing IAJE. I can mention as also a very important experience, a place to perform because you are performing there for teachers, you're performing there for audiences, jazz lovers, audiences. All these are very, very, very important to me.
Brazilian music has been your heart and soul, and I know that you're involved with it so intimately. Can you? I'm not even sure how to say this, but tell us about Brazilian music and what it does for the.
Yes, Brazilian music is my deeper passion. I wrote some books and did some videos, and I teach clinics and workshops, whatever. I have a big passion of Brazilian with Brazilian music, for Brazilian music. And I've been studying the music because Brazil is a vast country, is a big country, like almost like the U.S. I'm telling you geographically, it's a very you have Indians in the up in the south, in the north. You have the northeastern culture, musical culture is so much great. We had the influences there from the people from Iberian Peninsula. I have in Bahia we have lots of influence from Africa. In Rio de Janeiro the same. And when you go west, you have some influence from the Latin America and South American places like Paraguay, Chile, and Peru. All this mixing together enriches a lot. No, we have a myriad of styles, a myriad of cultures mixed in that melting pot. So it enriches your knowledge. And so, I love it to, when I started teaching Brazilian music, I thought I have to learn the percussion because percussion is such a special and such an important instrument. When I talk about percussion, there is a big variety of those instruments that makes you understanding more about the phrasing, the feeling of each style. And also the fact that I also play guitar. My main instrument, of course, is the piano. But I also love to play guitar, and guitar is a very popular instrument in Brazil, maybe the most popular instrument to have in Brazil besides percussion. So I think all this made me a connoisseur of Brazilian music, if you understand.
I do. Now,
and I love it. I love it.
And your books have been used around the world. Talk about your books.
And then I had to pass that information widely. So I started from teaching the classes. I started to organize handouts, and then I started to creating books. First, I did a video. It was Secrets of Brazilian Music, was distributed by Warner, I think. And then I did the Brazilian Music Workshop, was translated to several idioms, several languages, including Japanese, French, and German. And also the next one, which was my most recent about Brazilian music, was phrasing in Brazilian music. Phrasing is one of my passions also. So not just in Brazilian music, but since I was into that, I was into Brazilian music very, very well, very much, very deep. Phrasing is something that if you have passion for such a style, for any style of music, you want to get into that. Like in jazz, phrasing is not just play those notes that are written. Phrasing is something else that comes from the local culture, the typical culture of any place. I love it. These are the books that I've been releasing. Besides these books on Brazilian music, I've been releasing several books on piano and harmony and not improvisation, but that is included when you talk about harmony, includes improvisation because they are together. And then, yes, books on those subjects. And in my school, I have the chance to have guest teachers. Sometimes we have, for example, we just had 1 month of workshops and clinics with very experienced teacher of, composer for movies. He was he did a great went great. So with all that, there is an interaction, and that enriches you a lot. Like interacting with people from different cultures, from different subjects, and that makes you grow. Like an arranger, like you, like an orchestrator, like you you can play different instruments. You know about the soul of each instrument, so that that will help you each time. No? That's what's happened. As much as you can learn, we can learn. As much we can do. That's good.
Well, now you are currently working on several things, I know, some of which you've already kind of mentioned, but I want to talk a little bit more about that. And what can we expect from you in the near future?
Yes, I have lots of projects, Zic. Lots of projects. You know, I have some very popular songs in Brazil and in the world, as well as we can talk about that also. But and then I've been dedicating lately much for my recordings on jazz and arranging my arrangements, my compositions as well. But I would like to focus again more into my songwriting. I see it's different than composition, you know that. So I am work with a partner here in Brazil, and I want to concentrate a little bit with that on songwriting. I have been recently, some of my songs included in movies. I just had one movie from Netflix, The Man from Toronto, which included one of my songs.
Hmm.
Yes, there is another one. Besides The Man from Toronto, there is another one that's spinning round or spinning me round, and also a series from HBO. They are catching my old songs for the
Ah,
movies.
yeah.
Yes, and then why I'm not writing more songwriting, doing more songwriting? So I'm dedicating a little bit to that now. Not a little bit, but seriously, I want to dedicate more to my songwriting. And of course, my instrumental albums, I plan to. I've been doing every year. I have been doing one album, at least one album. So this is another thing. Of course, the school, the teaching thing, I cannot forget. So I'm going that direction, more or less into that direction.
I must also say that your most recent album I've had the pleasure of hearing, and it is something that everybody should get a hold of. It's just music that spews out love and passion and everything that is included in that, much like
I think
yourself.
I think
and
passion. I'm sorry.
yes,
I was going to just say that passion is the key word for music. You
yes,
have to have passion. If not, forget it. Forget music.
right.
Forget everything if you don't have passion.
It goes beyond music, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this has been a wonderful interview, and we really appreciate all of the information that you've given to our viewers. I think there's one more thing I'd like to ask of you. Would you please play something for us?
Okay, I'm not very well prepared to that, and the keyboard I have here, I don't know if it will sound good. Let's see. Can you see a little bit? No?
Mm-hmm.
Let me play this for you. Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. This is my song. It's called "Pretty World." Has lyrics by Alan Bergman and Marilyn Bergman, and it was recorded by Sergio Mendes, Stevie Wonder, Herb Alpert, Chilia, and recently Daniela Soledad, the one that we performed in St. Petersburg. It's like that. enjoy
So
this
beautiful.
real
So
piano.
beautiful. Oh,
Good.
Antonio, it just brings joy to me to hear you play. It's just so
Thank
wonderful.
you.
You know, this has been, as I said, this has been an incredible interview, and personally, such a pleasure to be back together with you again. And I hope that we'll continue to see each other as we move through the future. It's
Of course. Of
it's
course.
just important for all of our viewers now to have a view of you and your music and the Brazilian music all wrapped up in this one little interview. So, with the
Great.
deepest thoughts into my heart, thank you.
Thank you, my friend. And I hope next time I will go to Florida, we get together again, personally,
Let's do it.
physically, how they say it. It's always been a great friendship between us, and I'm very happy to have met you one day. It was great, and thank you once again for this invitation to participate on this interview. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Antonio.
To our viewers, thanks for joining us for this episode of Jazz Zone Together. Please check out our entire library of interviews. We know you'll find them all of real value to your program. Watch for updates as we're adding new interviews regularly.